Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, October 14. Good to see you today. Hope you had a good weekend and are ready to tackle the big stories of the day as we head into week number 3 of the government shutdown, and still no immediate end in sight, even though serious talks seem to be underway in the Senate between Majority Leader Harry Reid and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. I hope so, because we're only 3 days away from the total meltdown on October 17 if Congress can't get its act together and does not raise the debt ceiling by that deadline. More and more voices in the Republican Party are warning that this is bad news. This is the wrong approach. It is killing the party and killing the country. But the Tea Party members in the House Republican caucus don't care. They won't listen. And, of course, they have taken John Boehner hostage. Meanwhile, yesterday, Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin led a whole big protest of veterans at the World War II Memorial. What a joke. Don't these idiots realize that Ted Cruz is the man responsible for this government shutdown in the first place? And instead of protesting the opening, the closure, I should say, of the World War II Memorial, why aren't they protesting the fact that there are veterans who are not getting their checks? There are veterans who are not getting their benefits. There are veterans who are not getting their health care because of Ted Cruz. What a bunch of idiots. Stay tuned. Give us a call. You know the number, 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Or you can join us on Twitter at BP Show. And we want to see your comments on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The news from Washington, around the country, and around the globe, and your comments right here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
On your TV and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Week number 3 of the government shutdown, and these idiots still can't fix it. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday, October 14. Good to see you today. I hope you had a great weekend. Got some chance to relax, recharge your batteries, and ready to go. This is Armageddon. This is the week when we go from a government shutdown to the total government collapse unless they raise the debt ceiling. And you ask me, my prediction is we're going over the cliff, folks. Hate to say it, but I don't see any hope otherwise. We'll talk about it this morning. And, of course, get your comments on what it all means to you and what impact this is having on you, your family, your community, where you live, wherever you live in this great land of ours. It is the Bill Press Show, Monday morning, coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, wherever you happen to be in this great land, coast to coast, and also being seen and shown, our radio show, on Free Speech TV. You can find Free Speech TV. Of course, you got a satellite dish on the Dish Network or on DirecTV, and it's a special bonus. That video stream available all around the world. All you need is a laptop or a desktop or an iPhone. You can stream the show at TawkrTV. That's youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR, TawkrTV. However you join us, thank you for being there as we tackle the news here from the nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe with our team here, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Bill, good morning.
Thanks for ignoring the shutdown, and and happy Columbus Day, by the way. For a lot of people, it's a holiday today.
It is.
Obviously, not for us. We are not furloughed, and we're not observing the Columbus Day holiday.
That's right. We're working double time.
Yeah. Don't try to
boss?
Try to put in for it. Alicia Cruz is here, personing the phones as always, and Cyprian Bolding has the video cam. Looking good. That if we do look good, we thank him, and if we don't look good, we blame him. So
that's right.
That goes with the territory, right?
That's right.
How about them Red Sox? Detroit up 1-0, and then the Red Sox, and they were up 5-1, I think it was. Yeah, 5-1, going into the 8th inning, 2 outs, and Dave Ortiz steps up to the plate. Bases loaded.
Right field. That one's stalled to the right. Hunter on the move, racing back. It's over his head. It's gone. It's into the bullpen. This game is tied. This game is tied. David Ortiz. David Ortiz. David Ortiz.
Do you know who hit that home run?
Who hit that exactly?
David Ortiz did. Yeah. Bases loaded. Grand slam. There's nothing more exciting in baseball than a grand slam home run, especially at a time like that.
I mean, that's about as dramatic as it gets.
2 outs, down 5-1, bottom of the 8th, and then bottom of the 9th. They need one more run. It's still tied 5-5. Will it go into overtime?
Swinging a line drive, base hit into left field. That's the ball game. The Red Sox have rallied to win Game 2. They've won it. The Sox have won it 6-5. Jared Saltalamacchia with a walk-off base hit. And it's a brand new series in the 2013 ALCS.
That ties it up. And but our Dodgers, not doing too well. Dodgers down 2-0. But that goes back to Los Angeles today. They'll be
tonight.
Playing.
Yep.
The
St. Louis Cardinals.
Cards, yeah. Beat the Cards.
It's tough to get into that position where you're down 2 games, man, to start off the series.
Hey, look at the America's Cup. They came back from 8-1.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah, good point.
Always comebacks available here. How about it? I'd love to see a comeback in politics there with rational people leading the charge, but it doesn't seem to be happening. We saw the yahoos and the crazies running the show yesterday. And we'll be talking about that with reporter friends from Politico, from Huffington Post, from the National Journal, and from McClatchy News here in studio with us this morning. And to the big demonstration at the World War II Memorial yesterday. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
On this Monday, other headlines making news. The Statue of Liberty reopened yesterday. Under an agreement with the federal government, the state of New York is agreeing to shoulder the $61,000 a day cost to keep Liberty Island open during the shutdown. The feds are allowing any state to do this for any national park during the shutdown if they can afford to pay the National Park Service to reopen the parks. They can do so.
By the way, Statue of Liberty only open till Friday.
Yes, and then they're going to renegotiate and try and continue opening it again.
Extension, but good for Mario Cuomo. I mean, not Mario, but Andrew.
There are now just 2 unbeaten teams left in the NFL after the New England Patriots handed the New Orleans Saints their first loss on a last-second touchdown last night. The Kansas City Chiefs improved to 6-0 with a win over the Oakland Raiders, and the Denver Broncos beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 35-19, which was a closer game than expected. The Vegas line on that was 27 points.
That actually was a close game until about that middle of the third quarter when they just blew it open, which it says something about how good the Denver team is. That their off game they win 35-19.
You can't hold down gravity. The Sandra Bullock, George Clooney flick earned another $44 million over the weekend to hold the top spot at the box office. It did hold off the highly anticipated Captain Phillips. Tom Hanks's new movie debuted to $26 million in sales.
Yeah, Captain Phillips did well, and it got such huge publicity, and everybody thought it might work, but Gravity
Have you seen Gravity yet?
Haven't seen it yet.
I gotta go see it.
Yeah, I want to see it.
I finally saw it, and I did the IMAX 3D thing, which is incredible.
But not all theaters have IMAX.
No. But not all theaters have
an IMAX theater.
You don't have to go to an IMAX theater. I would suggest seeing it in 3D. I really would.
But at an IMAX theater.
You don't have to see it in an IMAX theater.
Oh,
if you can, I would.
But you see 3D at a regular theater.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I say if you're anywhere close to an IMAX screen, go to it. Seriously, it's worth seeing on such a big screen.
All right.
It's awesome.
All right. Thank you.
There you go.
I want to go see it. I'm just trying to think when I can go. But at any rate, yes, indeed. Meanwhile, we had our own little bit of action here yesterday. You probably heard about it. It's kind of the big thing that happened in Washington yesterday. Another big protest down at this has become the center of protest for the Tea Partiers, the World War II memorial right smack dab in the middle of the Washington Mall. Just an aside, I think it's the ugliest memorial in Washington, D.C., built in the wrong place. But that personal feeling aside, this whole idea of all these protests centered around the World War II memorial is absolutely lunatic. It is absolutely meaningless, and it is just a nothing but a big show by people who don't know what the hell they are doing. Yesterday's protest, of course, led by the three stooges of American politics, Sarah Palin, Ted Cruz, and the hapless Mike Lee from Utah, who is the only member of the U.S. Senate who thinks that Ted Cruz is worth anything at all. Everybody else hates him except for his little puppy dog, Mike Lee. So, yes, I mean, if you had to think about three of the dumbest, most useless politicians in America, I mean, Sarah Palin. Who is Sarah Palin? Who is Sarah Palin? The failed vice presidential candidate who cost John McCain the presidency, who quit as governor of Alaska after a year and a half, who was fired by Fox News. I think she's back now, though you never see her in the air anymore, right? I mean, who is Sarah Palin? Sarah Palin, Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee. So here's Sarah Palin. We're going to take down those barricades.
We are here to honor our vets. You look around, though, and you see these barricades, and you have to ask yourself, is this any way that a commander-in-chief would show his respect, his gratitude to our military?
I haven't heard that screechy voice
Man
for so long.
alive.
Man, I haven't missed it either. And then there's Ted Cruz. This is like the invasion of Normandy.
We stormed the beaches of Normandy. Do they really think these little barricades can keep us out?
Mike Lee, we're not going to take it. They're not going to take away our freedom.
This belongs to you. This does not belong to the government. It belongs to the people. Are we going to let them shut us out of what is rightfully ours? No! Will we surrender our freedom? No! Should we give our health care to an organization that would shut us out of this? No!
God, I'm telling you. So there they go. And then, of course, they stormed into the World War II memorial, which actually the Park Police have long ago decided they're just letting them do it. And they picked up the barricades and they took them down 17th Street to Pennsylvania Avenue and in front of and then piled them up in front of the White House we're throwing them at the White House fence and at the White House gates, and continuing their protests. Which absolutely drives me crazy. And here's what's wrong with it. First of all, those three idiots leading the protest, but they're not the dumbest ones. The dumbest ones there are the idiots who are protesting. Right? These are people. They call them vets. I wonder how many were really veterans. I don't care if they were veterans. They don't know what the hell they were doing. I think they were organized by Heritage Action. They were organized, so that's Jim DeMint. They were organized by Americans for Prosperity. That's the Koch brothers. And these people, again, don't know what the hell they're doing, don't know what they're saying, don't know that they don't realize they're being used by these right-wing organizations, and they're being used by them to argue against something that's in their own best interest. I mean, how dumb can they be? Don't they realize, number one, who's responsible for the shutdown? Don't they realize that the guy that they were cheering yesterday, Ted Cruz, is the guy behind the shutdown? He's the guy that, doesn't everybody know that? Not those idiots. He's the guy that came up with this idea that has proven to be a colossal failure. That the way to destroy and kill and get rid of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is to shut down the government. That was his idea, adopted by the House Republicans, and it's a total failure. Total failure. And we wouldn't have an end to the shutdown yet, but they've abandoned the idea of getting rid of Obamacare. Everybody says it's never going to happen. So, why are they following Ted Cruz? They should have been hanging him in effigy at the memorial. They should have been booing him. Number one. Number two, what about their priorities? That's what I don't get. Why are they protesting the closure of the World War II memorial and not the closure of the Vietnam memorial? Why aren't they protesting the closing of the Arlington National Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknowns, right? Why aren't they protesting the fact that there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands probably of veterans around this country who are not getting their benefits, not getting their checks, not getting medical care at the VA hospital because Ted Cruz shut down the freaking government? They don't care about them? They don't care about the fact that NIH, there are 200 people turned away every week from clinical trials for cancer and other serious diseases because the government is shut down because of Ted Cruz. And they protest not being able to walk around that dumb World War II memorial. And look, here's a story in the New York Times that caught my attention this morning about a woman on an Indian reservation out in Montana. She relies on a few $100s a month she gets from the federal government. That's all she's got to keep her family going. She's not getting her check. They don't care about people like that. They care about being able to walk around the World War II memorial. I'm telling you, these guys are total idiots. And let me say something else about taking these barricades to the White House. I just have to tell you, I go to the White House every day. I've seen a lot of protests in front of the White House. If they had been an environmental group opposing the Keystone Pipeline, you know what would have happened? Every one of them would have been put in handcuffs and carted away. I've seen it happen over and over again for pro-peace groups, environmental groups, groups protesting God knows what. If they get close to that fence, if they were to throw anything at that fence, any way whatsoever, their ass would have been in jail yesterday. Now, I'm not saying those veterans should have been arrested or those protests. I don't want to call them veterans because this was a mob. This was a right-wing mob organized, again, by the Koch brothers and Jim DeMint. But anybody else would have been arrested for their actions in front of the White House yesterday. I think it was a disgrace, and I think it was particularly a disgrace for the people, again, who let themselves be used and who came to Washington for that. They should have been up there storming the Capitol, storming the offices of Ted Cruz. They should have been out in front of the VA hospital protesting the cuts to the veterans, protesting things that really matter, and protesting the Tea Party Republicans who shut this government down now for 3 weeks. Tell me what you think about it. 866-55-PRESS. Here, let's talk about it on The Bill Press Show.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's 25 minutes after the hour on a Monday, October 14. A big faux protest here in Washington yesterday, led by Sarah Palin. Oh, no! Sarah Palin's back. Peter?
We're taking comments on Twitter at BP Show, A lot of people pointing out that there were some pictures taken of someone protesting with the Confederate flag, in case, you thought we were making any progress in this country.
I saw the Confederate
flag. That man
flag,
showed up with the Confederate flag, just to remind everybody who they are. So we've got a couple of comments on that. Also, Don says, the idiots waving the Confederate flag in front of the White House don't get arrested, but the politicians standing up for immigration last week all did.
Good point. Yeah. John Lewis, Keith Ellison, and others, right? Protesting immigration on the Washington Mall, right?
Yep.
They
Yep.
were arrested, yeah. But the redneck protesters, no. Yeah. Let them go.
Yeah, exactly. You can find us on Twitter at BP Show.
I'm telling you, don't have to be totally dismayed about the politics of South Carolina. Lindsey Graham may drive you crazy, but then we got Ike. We like Ike. From Charleston.
Morning.
Hey, Ike, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. You know, in honor of Columbus Day, you would hope that maybe these folks would go on a voyage of self-examination and get a clue. But unfortunately, all they are exposed to is right-wing talk radio and Fox News. And they also get it from their church or places of worship where they think that they're godly and they're patriots and all this garbage. And the question I had is Ted Cruz and that other guy, Allen, the Senate was in session right at that time. What were they doing out there to start with? And furthermore, when you hold somebody that was basically a lipstick model and a failed governor and a failed candidate for vice president, and that's the type of people you follow, that just shows your ignorance. And it's unfortunate because, to be quite honest with you, brother, you know, I argue with folks all the time about how, you know, America's, you know, got some really good, bright people in it and, you know, things aren't that bad. But these people do everything they can to prove that we're just a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, what I don't get, Ike, is I just share your outrage and your anger and your just disappointment, right? I mean, the fact that they're following the guy who creates their problems and worshiping him like a hero. I mean,
And just remember, Bill, this is just another page out of the playbook from Ronald Reagan's day where they decided that if they want to kill the social programs and anything that helps us, that if they can't do it outright and take the heat and get thrown out of office, starve the government and drown it in a bathtub. They're still doing it.
That's exactly right. Ike, always good to hear from you. Start us off this week. More calls coming up on this faux protest yesterday at the World War II Memorial. Stay with us on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Thirty-four minutes after the hour now, we're talking about the big phony protest yesterday, whipped up by the right-wingers, a group of people they identified as veterans. Who knows? Whatever they were, the dumbest group of people that probably ever came to Washington, D.C., because they were marching like the Pied Piper, following the Pied Piper of Ted Cruz, when Ted Cruz is, in fact, the one responsible for shutting down the World War II memorial in the first place, and, of course, directing their attention against the World War II memorial and ignoring all the other real pain. I mean, I got to tell you, I don't think it's real pain and real suffering not to be able to walk around the World War II memorial. It is real pain and real suffering when your family depends on food stamps, or if your family depends on veterans benefits, or your family depends on you're getting a paycheck from your job and you're not getting it. Your real pain when you're like one of these Indian tribes out in the West, they're not getting their federal benefits. Real pain when you're a cancer patient, you or your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your kid, and you take them to the NIH and you can't get in that clinical trial because the government is shut down. And then the guy who shut it down, Ted Cruz, these idiots are on the mall at the World War II memorial worshiping him and cheering him. I'm telling you. There's never been a dumber bunch of people in the city of Washington in history. Peter.
You're not alone, Bill. We're getting a lot of comments on Twitter this morning at BP Show, at BP Show. Jim says, so the Kochs and the Waltons don't have to pay a dime more in taxes. The GOP will continue to make our nation live paycheck to paycheck. That seems to be the situation going on right now. Cherie Hernandez says those, quote, veterans, unquote, cheering Ted Cruz is like you cheering on your former boss after he just fired you.
Excellent point.
Find us online at BP Show on Twitter.
And by the way, that wasn't the only group of dumb people in Washington yesterday. We also had the voter summit, the Values Voter Summit here, and they took a straw poll as to who was there for the social conservatives, their favorite to run for president in 2016. And of course, the man who won was Ted Cruz.
Oh, man.
He got 42% of the vote. Get this. In second place, with 13% of the vote, not Rick Santorum, not Pat Buchanan, not Sarah Palin, right?
Yeah.
This Dr. Ben Carson.
That's amazing.
Whom they're pumping now, as the next, I don't know, the next Republican on a white horse is going to come in and save the party. He's the guy who compared the Affordable Care Act to slavery.
Says it's worse than slavery.
Worse than slavery.
Said it was worse than slavery over the weekend.
So
yeah, good luck with that.
So figure this out, all right? That 40 million Americans, for the first time, 46 million, whatever it is, are able to buy basic health insurance for themselves and their family, so that if their kid gets sick, they don't have to depend on the emergency room. They can take him or her to a doctor and get the treatment that they need and the medication that they need. For making that available, right? That's slavery. That's worse than slavery. I'm telling you, folks, we have never, there've been crazy people around for a long time, but the problem today is that they're in charge. They're the ones that are leading the pack. They're driving the agenda of the Republican Party for sure. And right now, they've got the government shut down for the third week in a row, and ready to do even more damage. Frank is calling from Niagara Falls, New York on Free Speech TV. Hey, Frank, what do you say?
Nothing says values like Ted Cruz, huh? A grifter sociopath in it for the ego, power, and money. The maddening part is the Tea Party groupies, they're no better than flunkies for the Koch brothers, and they don't even know it.
I know. Yeah, I'm telling you, I believe, Frank, that these people were paid to come for that protest yesterday.
Well, Fox News made it seem like the Tea Party Republican chicken hawks were on the veterans' side. I guess somebody forgot it was the Tea Party Republicans who cut disabled veterans, or maybe they missed the fact that Bush Cheney sent soldiers to Iraq without the proper armor to protect them, or any clear strategy beyond George W. flying onto an aircraft carrier to claim mission accomplished.
I know, Frank. Yeah, and maybe again they're ignoring the fact that the veterans hospitals today are operating at minimum staffing levels. Veterans are not getting the health care they need. They're not getting the attention they need. They're not getting their benefits. They're not getting their checks because of the government shutdown, which was started by and is promoted by and led by Ted Cruz. And then they're out cheering him on the mall yesterday. Well, there was that text, right, or message that we got there. It's like the guy that fired you, the boss that fired you, you show up the next day and applaud him. Oh, he's wonderful. I love him. Oh, fire me again. Greg is calling from, believe it or not, Virginia, Minnesota. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Bill?
All right,
I appreciate what you do on the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. What's your point?
I found this article on PoliticUSA.com. It was by the Million Vet March people. They're saying they've left a message on their website condemning Palin and Cruz for hijacking their...
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh. Where's the site? What is it? PoliticUSA.com?
Yes.
Well,
PoliticUSA.com.
Yeah. Right. You know what? I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you told us about that, because those are legitimate veterans groups that are standing up and saying, don't believe these imposters here, right? Don't believe these phonies. Good to know that, Greg. Peter, we ought to check it out. Maybe we can link to that. Right. Judy is out in Denver, Colorado on Free Speech TV as well. Hey, Judy. Good morning.
Hey, thank you so much for bringing up about the idiots,
well,
so-called vets.
I know. Burned me up yesterday.
Oh, I was so angry over it, and then nobody mentions what a sham it is when we've got people starving to death in this country. And it really bothers me that Democrats are as much of the problem as the Republicans. And I was a Democrat for over 40 years, and we've got a man in the White House that does great speeches but never follows through. He has always caved in. If he hadn't caved in the first time we went through this, we wouldn't be in this position today. And my prediction is he's going to cave again.
All right, Judy, I got to tell you, I've been as critical as anybody of President Obama and certainly believe that he caved in the past. But I got to tell you, on this case, it is wrong to say that both parties are equally responsible. There is one party that's responsible for the showdown. It's the Republican shutdown, rather, not showdown, shutdown. It's the Republican Party shutdown. It is led by Ted Cruz, followed by the Tea Party Republicans in the House, and John Boehner is their captive. He doesn't have the balls to stand up to them. We've said this so many times, Judy. John Boehner, not Barack Obama, responsible for the shutdown. If John Boehner would just call a vote in the House on a clean resolution to fund the government, there are more than enough Democrats and more than enough Republicans to vote for it. We could have been out of this. We never had to shut down the government. We could have been out of this 3 weeks ago, except for John Boehner. So in this case, don't blame President Obama. Put the blame right squarely where it belongs. And by the way, the American people see that. The American people know that. Look at all the polls. 51% of the American people blame the Republican Party for this. Their standing now in the latest poll was down to 24%. They're not fooling anybody. They're the ones responsible. When we come back, Stephen Shephard from National Journal will join us on the news of the day and give his take on what's going on in that big demonstration yesterday.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dog, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes now before the top of the hour here on a Monday, October 14. Well, the action, to the extent that there is any action at all, appears to have shifted to the United States Senate with discussions over the weekend between Majority Leader Harry Reid and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Steve Shephard follows all of this, as we all do. He's executive editor of the Hotline, the National Journal's Hotline, joining us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Steve, good Monday morning.
Good morning, Bill.
I want to ask you first, before we get into this, we know that Ted Cruz is the leader of the government shutdown and the strategy that the way to defund Obamacare or derail or kill it or delay it or whatever is to shut down the government. Who seems to be it's certainly leading the charge on that. And who's the leading Republican against that strategy?
Well, I think you saw this weekend a number of different people try to claim that mantle. Susan Collins tried to claim that mantle on Friday with her plan, which was just to delay the medical device tax for 2 years in exchange for reopening the government and extending, raising the debt ceiling. But that fell flat. Now you're seeing Mitch McConnell try to step into that breach and negotiate with Harry Reid, although there's a lot of question as to how far along they are right now, or they are going to get over the next couple of days.
Right, but I mean, isn't it maybe? I'm not seeing it clearly, but I don't see like a leading Republican. I mean, out front, right? Out front, Mitch McConnell, for all that he may be talking about to Harry Reid in their private phone calls, right, is not on all the television shows saying this is the wrong strategy for the Republican Party and for the country. And to me, that seems part of the problem, that there's no counter to a Ted Cruz.
Well, I think you have seen that a little bit. I know Johnny Isakson, Republican of Georgia, went on CNN on Friday and said that the shutdown was a stupid idea. You've seen John McCain and Lindsey Graham talk about how unhelpful it is. But at this point, it might be more unhelpful to the Republican cause to talk about how unhelpful the shutdown is. So I think you've seen at least a bluff of unity on behalf of Republicans, or an attempt towards that over the last week or so as the shutdown's extended into its second week. You mentioned just to try to salvage whatever negotiating position they might have.
You mentioned John McCain. Here is John McCain yesterday with Bob Schieffer, I believe. Yeah.
What about Ted Cruz and the impact that he's had?
Well,
you think
I
that's a positive for Republicans?
Oh, obviously it's very divisive in our party, but Ted Cruz is entitled to his views, and he's very articulate, he's very intelligent, and what we need to do is to have this debate within the Republican Party, and it's going to be a serious debate. And look, I respect Senator Cruz. He didn't make any bones about what he was going to do when he came to Washington. The question is should we follow that leadership, or should we go in other directions and coalesce the majority of the American people? Look, I guess we can get lower in the polls. We're down to blood relatives and paid staffers now. I mean, it just, but we've got to turn this around.
Got to turn it around. Little civil war inside the Republican Party, huh, Steve?
Well, and that's playing out in both chambers right now, and it's really anybody's guess if. Look, there needs to be an agreement between now and Thursday that the president can sign on to, that 60 senators can sign on to, and that John Boehner can put on the floor of the House of Representatives, which means it has to have at least significant, if not majority, support in his conference.
Yeah.
And as we've negotiated time and time again, it's difficult to understand what that might be unless we get to the 11th hour.
Right. Well, I was going to. So let's start there. The action, the lead, everything now is sort of waiting for the Senate, right? Okay. So how close do we know? Are they close to a deal that between Reid and Mitch McConnell?
It doesn't appear so. They spoke once yesterday. It was reported via telephone, though Harry Reid was fairly optimistic, and he said that he's optimistic about the prospect for a positive conclusion when he spoke on the Senate floor just before the Senate recessed. The Senate is in session today. It'll be back
What's
at 2
the difference? What's the difference between the two sides now? What's the big issue?
Well,
money?
That
Dollars?
seems to be, obviously these negotiations are all going on behind the scenes. the biggest issue lately has been Harry Reid's insistence, or at least floating the idea that Democrats shouldn't accept the sequestration spending levels that they seemed prepared to accept at the outset of in late September before the shutdown. Now they've said, he's sort of hinted that they want to revisit that. Now that could be setting the stage for a future concession on the Democratic side, but it seems unlikely that, and Republicans have indicated this, Mitch McConnell has indicated this, that they're not going to accept reopening that and increasing spending levels as part of the deal.
But it looks like, if that's the difference, and it looks like they have agreed, both sides, that they're going to reopen the government and they're going to raise the debt ceiling. The question is if they, what level of spending in the budget that they would agree to continue operating under, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the other part of that. Just because Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell agree on something doesn't mean that it will be put on the floor to a vote by Speaker Boehner or that it would pass.
I was just going to say, so we get that through the Senate, then you got the problem of getting it through the House. And the House still depends on whether, seems to me, John Boehner's willing to put it up for a vote on the full floor and not invoke the Hastert rule, right?
Right. And again, this may be something where Wednesday night, or as we get really down to the wire, he goes to his conference and says, I have no choice but to put this on the floor because I'm not willing to risk default. I understand that it's only going to get 30 to 50 Republican votes and that the majority of the conference is going to oppose it, but I'm willing to do this.
Yep, and I may have to go back to sweeping floors in my father's bar because I may be out of a job. Steve Shephard, good job at the National Journal and the Hotline. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Steve.
Thanks, Bill.
Have a good one. TheNationalJournal.com. Check out the Hotline.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing done. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed. 3 minutes before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Burgess Everett from Politico will be joining us. Peter, what's up?
The Washington Post got a hold of a fascinating story revolving around Maryland Attorney General Doug Gansler. He's running for governor. He's going to be running for governor. And it turns out he has a problem with police escorts. He would always, get a police escort. He's the attorney general. And what he would do is he would demand the police to speed through red lights, turn on their sirens, fly to these routine appointments that he would have. And if the police said, Mr. Attorney General, we're not going to turn on our lights.
He's just going to the dentist or for something like that.
Yeah,
right.
They say, Mr. Attorney General, we're not going to do that right now. He would reach over and take over and turn the lights on and the sirens on himself. The police actually came out and filed a report, said it's extremely irresponsible behavior. It disregards public safety, the trooper safety, and even the law is how that.
There were times where that he was so he really wanted to speed up and everything. The cop wouldn't do it. He ordered the cop to sit in the passenger seat, and he drove the car.
He'd take over
with sirens blaring and the whole thing.
Amazing.
This guy's got a little problem, I think.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, October 14. Good to see you today. Hope you had a good weekend and are ready to tackle the big stories of the day as we head into week number 3 of the government shutdown, and still no immediate end in sight, even though serious talks seem to be underway in the Senate between Majority Leader Harry Reid and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. I hope so, because we're only 3 days away from the total meltdown on October 17 if Congress can't get its act together and does not raise the debt ceiling by that deadline. More and more voices in the Republican Party are warning that this is bad news. This is the wrong approach. It is killing the party and killing the country. But the Tea Party members in the House Republican caucus don't care. They won't listen. And, of course, they have taken John Boehner hostage. Meanwhile, yesterday, Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin led a whole big protest of veterans at the World War II Memorial. What a joke. Don't these idiots realize that Ted Cruz is the man responsible for this government shutdown in the first place? And instead of protesting the opening, the closure, I should say, of the World War II Memorial, why aren't they protesting the fact that there are veterans who are not getting their checks? There are veterans who are not getting their benefits. There are veterans who are not getting their health care because of Ted Cruz. What a bunch of idiots. Stay tuned. Give us a call. You know the number, 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Or you can join us on Twitter, at BP Show, and we want to see your comments on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The news from Washington, around the country, and around the globe, and your comments right here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Week number 3 of the government shutdown. And this week, we go over the cliff when they refuse to raise the debt ceiling. Looks like they're not going to get there. Hey, what do you say? Hello, everybody. Great to see you today. Happy Monday. It is Monday, October 14. We're booming out to you live all across this great land of ours from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Here we are, right down the street from the United States Capitol. They were, the Senate, at least, in session yesterday. A long time since the Senate worked on the Sunday, but they didn't get anything done, of course. We've got our eye on the meetings that will be held today in the House. The House comes back at 6:30 tonight. They have a little session tonight. The Senate will be in session, and even though it's Columbus Day, and the president will be holding meetings down at the White House. all trying to resolve this question of the debt ceiling and the government shutdown before midnight on Thursday, October 17. Thank you for joining us today for the conversation in our town hall on your local Progressive Talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV or the Dish Network, if you got a satellite dish. And you can watch the video stream, of course, on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Here we go. The gang is here. Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey.
Bill, good morning.
Starting off another week together with Alicia Cruz on the phones, waiting for your calls. And Cyprian Bolding has got us looking good on the video stream and on Free Speech TV. The videographer, the big Captain Phillips debuted over the weekend, the big movie with Tom Hanks. They thought it might soar right up to the top, but Gravity with George Clooney's just holding in there. Phenomenal movie. Peter, you got to see it?
I did. Beautiful movie. Really, really, really amazing what they've done with technology there.
And Saturday Night Live had some fun with it Saturday night, of course, because what would happen if we had the real astronauts floating out in space and they called Houston, but there's a government shutdown?
Oh my God, we're detached! What do we do?
Here, I mean, stay calm. Stay calm. Houston, this is Explorer. We've been hit by debris and need immediate assistance. Do you copy? Houston, do you read?
Houston, come in, Houston!
Houston, come in. We're flying blind, Houston. Houston, we need you desperately, Houston, please.
Houston, please.
Somebody.
Houston. Hello.
Yellow.
This is Dr. Janet Stone. We've become detached from the Hubble telescope.
Mission Control, we are at 4% oxygen and dropping. Please advise.
Mission Control is not here right now, but can I take a message?
What do you mean they're not here?
Well, this is awkward, but the government has shut down.
Oh, sad, but this is happening.
It turns out I'm the only essential employee in the place. But I could have told you that months ago.
Oh, there's stories like that all across the country, unfortunately. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very funny. We've got a lot coming up here with the reporters joining us from Politico, from Huffington Post, and from McClatchy News. And, of course, your calls and comments, always welcome. And the question is, with all this craziness of the Tea Party Republicans in the Congress, where is any leadership in the Republican Party willing to stand up to them with all the damage that they're doing? We'll get into that and your calls, but first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Monday in sports. The Boston Red Sox tied the American League Championship Series last night thanks to a grand slam home run by David Ortiz in the 8th inning at Fenway Park to tie the game after being down 5-0 through 6 innings. Then a single in the 9th set it up for a 6-5 win over the Detroit Tigers. Game 3 tomorrow afternoon back in Detroit. Today in the NLCS, the Cardinals are up 2-0. They visit the Dodgers in Los Angeles for Game 3.
Go Dodgers!
If you have a bad heart and you are a Boston sports fan, yesterday was not your day.
Yeah.
Because the Patriots winning with 5 seconds left in the game, and then the Red Sox winning at the very end, walking off.
But at the end of the day, what a great day Boston had.
Oh, yeah. No, they won.
Oh, yeah.
Football and baseball.
I bet they celebrated long into the night.
What a way to get there.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has bought 4 new homes in the last year, all belonging to his neighbors, and they weren't even for sale. NBC reports Zuckerberg learned that a developer was looking to capitalize on his presence living in his Palo Alto, California neighborhood. He immediately put a plan into action to stop it. He paid $30 million to 4 of his neighbors to buy their houses from them. He is now leasing them back to them, so he didn't kick them out, but he can now control how they're marketed and who might live there whenever his neighbors want to move out. So yes, for a price, anyone can be bought.
You know what? He's got that as much money as he's got. Good for him.
Sure, but I do find it interesting that this is all about privacy concerns on his part.
That's true.
Yeah, how interesting.
That is true.
How interesting. Yeah, not all of us have $30 million to drop to protect our privacy.
Yeah, privacy does count for something, Mark Zuckerberg, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it was all about the Kenyans at the Chicago Marathon yesterday. On the men's side, the top 3 finishers hailed from the African nation. On the women's side, the top 2. The third was a Russian, the overall winner in the marathon. The first major one in the U.S. since Boston was Dennis Kimeto, a farmer from Kenya. He broke the course record set last year by nearly a minute, running 26.2 miles in just 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 45 seconds.
You know, someday I want to see somebody do a story on why these people from Kenya keep winning these races. What is it that's in their blood or something? It's
amazing.
They grow up running from lions or something?
I don't know. Somehow they do. This guy was literally a farmer.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. The record for some time of coming over here and winning these marathons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dan. Yes, indeed. The shutdown continues and the madness in Congress continues and the civil war among Republicans continues. And what's fascinating to me is why the Republican Party keeps allowing this to happen. We know, and Dan Balls, senior political reporter for the Washington Post, yesterday had an excellent piece in the Washington Post saying a headline, "It's time for stock taking by GOP leaders." Everybody agrees that this government shutdown and the risk of defaulting is really hurting the Republican Party. I mean, they are just getting hammered by this Ted Cruz engineered strategy of believing foolishly that they could gut and get rid of the Affordable Care Act by just shutting down the government. It's a crazy strategy, but the Republican Party bought it, swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. And as a result of that, as I said, they are getting hammered. The latest, and every single poll shows that. They may deny that this poll, they say that, like Ted Cruz does, this poll is slanted or this poll doesn't have the right demographic or the right whatever. No. Every single poll shows. The latest, the Wall Street Journal. Okay, this is a Wall Street Journal poll, right? This is not Huffington Post. This is not Media Matters. This is not some left organization. The Wall Street Journal NBC poll showed that the approval rating of the Republican Party today is at 24%, the lowest ever. Approval rating of the Tea Party, 21%, the lowest ever. 17% of Americans identify themselves as Tea Partiers. 17! And they're running the show here in Washington, D.C. 53% of Americans blame the Republican Party for the shutdown. But get this. 3/4 of Republicans say their party leaders in Washington, their party representatives in Washington, deserve at least part of the blame for the shutdown. 2/3 of Americans say the Republican Party has put their own agenda over what's good for the country. I mean, at every level and every aspect of it, the Republican Party in worse shape than probably it's ever been, and certainly far, far worse than it was in 1995, the last Republican-engineered shutdown under then-Speaker Newt Gingrich. So you see this happening, but the question is, and you see Ted Cruz out there defending this and leading the charge. Who's standing up on the other side to say this is dumb? This is wrong, not only for the country, it's wrong for the party. Well, there have been some voices. John Sununu, I used to do Crossfire, remember, with Sununu, a former governor of New Hampshire, has come out. He's quoted over the weekend as saying, we need some grown-ups. It's time for somebody to act like a grown-up in this process. Haley Barbour, former governor of Mississippi, said about this whole strategy, it never had a chance. Haley, it never had a chance. I was on MSNBC with Reverend Al Sharpton Friday night, up with the Republican chair of South Carolina. I expected him to get on there and defend the shutdown. He was on there. He said he thought the shutdown was a huge mistake. This is the Republican chair of South Carolina who pointed out that they are trying to fight they are fighting legislation which already passed. We've made the same point, but they hear him make the point. It already passed 3 years ago. So he said that, they got to forget that and move on to fight other battles. So there have been some rare voices among Republicans. John McCain in the Senate has differed, broken with Ted Cruz on this strategy. But my question remains: where is the one leader of the Republican Party today to counter Ted Cruz? We know who's the Tea Party champion. We know who is the architect of shutting down the government to get rid of Obamacare. Who is leading the charge on the other side? Who's leading the charge for sanity and for reason among Republicans? So I'll tell you who it's not. It's not John McCain, because I think he just talks too much and nobody takes him seriously anymore. It's not Lindsey Graham, right? Who is it? Who's the leader? That's the question. And I'd really like to ask what you think about this, because I don't see it. 866-55-PRESS. Where is the leadership, and who is the leader of the Republican Party today? Who do we want to stand up, and who could possibly stand up and turn the tide here that people would respect and listen to? Mitch McConnell? I don't think so. Because he's hardly, and he's running for re-election, so he's scared of his own shadow. Is it George W. Bush? You know what? I think if Bush, who stayed on the sidelines, I give him credit for that. I think if he spoke up today and said this is the right strategy, I don't think Republicans would pay any attention to him.
No, I don't think so.
Is it Mitt Romney? No.
He's got fresh tire tracks over on his back after they threw him under the bus.
Is it Dick Cheney? No. You know what? It wouldn't. If he were alive today, it wouldn't even be Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan said that failure to raise a debt ceiling was a disaster and the dumbest thing we could possibly do. So who is the voice of the Republican Party? A voice of sanity, a voice of reason, a voice of understanding and compassion, who would stand up and say what the Tea Party is doing to this party and to the country is wrong. Who is the alternative to Ted Cruz? I don't see it today. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in. 866-55-PRESS. You tell me. Let's talk about it here on the Bill Press Show, Monday morning.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently Did you celebrate the victory? Did you take a chance?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
24 minutes after the hour, it is time for stock taking by GOP leaders, writes Dan Balls in the Washington Post yesterday. Yeah, but where are the GOP leaders and who are the GOP leaders? The only one we see right now is Ted Cruz standing up and John Boehner bending over. I mean, so where do we go, right, from there? I mean, seriously, where's the level-headed person who's going to stand up like a Bob Dole did in 1995? And the way that shutdown ended, Bob Dole stood up on the floor of the Senate and said, you know what, enough is enough. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, right? He said, now it's time to fold them because we're losing. Yeah, but you don't have that kind of voice today. Not with a real leader. Peter?
Yeah, we're on Twitter @BP Show, where Fred says it's tough to find a voice of reason in a tent as small as the modern GOP has created. We did see a couple people mention McCain. Lisa mentioned Susan Collins had some stuff to say. But again, when you look to someone that's a leader of the party that people are going to listen to, I don't know that that fits the bill.
Well, okay, you know, Susan Collins, I give her credit. She came up with a not a bad deal, I guess. It may still be the heart of the final deal that's agreed to by Senate Republicans. But again, Susan Collins is not seen as the leader, right, of the anti-Ted Cruz movement or the leader of reopening the government in the United States Senate. Did you see her on any of the Sunday shows yesterday? No. Mike, did you see her down at the World War II Memorial yesterday?
Certainly
or
not.
Anywhere at all? No. Mike, calling from Oakland, California on KNEW. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I'll get straight to it.
Yeah.
The three terrorists of doom, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and John Boehner, they all said, well, Mitch McConnell said after Obama was elected that he would do everything in his power to see that the president failed.
Right.
Okay.
And he failed at that.
Well, they're doing it. Okay. These three terrorists of doom, with their other terrorist friends, are doing this to the whole country. And the 47%, that's who they're screwing. And the 53% of the people who do not agree with what the Republicans are doing, but it's the 47% that is getting screwed.
Yeah, I hear you, Mike, but that's not to the point. The point is, who is the person who's going to stand up and save this party? I mean, as a Democrat, maybe I shouldn't care what happens to the Republican Party, but I think we need two healthy parties to have a good debate on the issues in this country, and we certainly need to save the country and not let the Republican Party, the Tea Party, destroy it. In St. David, Illinois. Hey, Beverly, good morning.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Hi, guys. I wanted to say hi to the guys.
Okay.
Hey. Hey.
And our lady here. Go ahead.
And, well, of course, I already said hi to Alicia. This is what's happening. There is no leader except Peter King did say that he was against Ted Cruz, but this is all hatred for the president. That's all it is about. They're having their tantrum. This is it. We're in a civil war, and hopefully we get past this, but I don't think so.
Well, I hope we do too, Beverly. We got 3 days to do it, and a lot of it is directed just against President Obama. But, I think if we're going to find our way out of it, you have to have a leader on the other side, a leader who's going to say, hey, folks, it's time to get serious. It's time to grow up, because the children, the kindergartners, are leading the fight right now among the Republican Party. Burgess Everett from Politico when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Coast, we got it covered from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Brought to you today by the NEA, the National Education Association. The good men and women, teachers of America, are creating great public schools all across this great land of ours. You bet. And for more information about their good work under President Dennis Van Rokel, check out their website at nea.org. Easy enough. So, the Senate in a rare session yesterday. They'll be back to work today, and the House coming in this evening. Any sign of hope that we can resolve this before Thursday? Burgess Everett covers the Congress for Politico, joining us in studio this morning. So what do you think, Burgess? Chances 50-50 we're going to go over the cliff, or bigger?
I don't know. I was pretty off when you had me on to predict the government shutdown. I think I said 30%, so I was, maybe not a good mark of mine.
And now we're into our third week.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the best sign is McConnell and Reid are talking. These are two guys that think they are the most grown-up politicians in Washington right now. And, I mean, that's the only good sign, but it is a significant one because they have a long relationship and a long history of solving things at the last minute. So,
but that does mean, for one thing, that the obvious is that the whole play right now is in the Senate, not in the House, right?
And that play would kind of, depending on where you stand, would be to jam the House majority and say take it or leave it at the last second and force people to either vote to raise the debt ceiling or vote against their leadership.
Now, as I understand it, in the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats have agreed that they want to avoid default by raising the debt ceiling.
Correct.
There may be a difference on how long they raise it for, but they will raise the debt.
Democrats want longer, Republicans want shorter.
Right. But the fact that they both agree to raise it, not go over the cliff, is good.
Yes.
And they also agree that they will reopen the government. I guess the question there is, as I understand it, this is really in the form of a question.
Yes, sure, go ahead.
To you, that the question is, under what budget terms will they reopen the government?
Correct. So Democrats theoretically would like the government to have a continuing resolution for as long as possible. However, there's a new sequester round of cuts in January. So if you have current spending levels anywhere past, I believe, January 15th, you actually get a $21 billion cut, mostly in defense. So Democrats want to avoid that, and the Republicans, especially in the Senate, they've often pointed to this Budget Control Act in 2011, which was the last debt ceiling crisis. This is also what brought us the sequester. They want to stick by these numbers, the spending numbers.
Yeah.
So that's 2 or 3 months ago, McConnell, he's always hated Obamacare, yes, but he's always been about lock in these lower spending levels because this has been a victory for the Republican Party, and that's basically what it's down to again at this point.
So, but it seems to me that at least there's a potential there that they could work those two differences out.
Right. Somebody's going to be unhappy because if the lower spending levels is going to really upset the liberal wing of the Senate Democrats, and all Republicans would be probably pretty upset if they were too high.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this morning Dick Durbin said we're talking about a $70 billion interest. That's a lot of money, but they could cut that in half, or they could reach whatever middle. I guess what I'm saying is it looks like there's the makings of a deal in the Senate.
Sure.
The big question is, if it passes the Senate with 100 votes, which it won't, but if
Right.
it passes, whatever, with 70 votes or
Sure.
60 votes, and goes to the House, what are the chances that Boehner can get anything through this House?
Well, it's less about whether he could get it through, I think, and more of whether he would want to put it on the floor and have a majority of his party.
So
vote
he could
against
get it through if he would.
Look at the fiscal cliff deal earlier this year. The Senate passed it, I think, with 89 votes.
Yeah.
When it comes to the House, and less than half the Republicans voted for it. But these are so different than these deadline-oriented bills are so different than immigration because, there really is this pressure at the last second to do something to, I don't know what the financial markets are going to look like this morning, but if they start tanking, this pressure is going to go up and up and up.
But Boehner has said repeatedly before, we will not let the government default.
Right.
He said that. He's on the record. So Jan Boehner, it looks like the only way out of this is Boehner will in the end, have to make the decision that I'm going to let the entire House vote on this so that it would pass with Democrats and some Republicans.
Yep.
That which he has been unwilling to do for the last 3 weeks on keeping the government open.
Sure.
Why do we think he'll do it Thursday and not last week?
Well, I think we're jumping ahead because we're assuming that Reid and McConnell are going to get that deal
we are,
for sure.
we are,
But if,
yeah.
if that happens, I just think that we're already in an unprecedented situation with the government being shut down for it'll be 2.5 weeks by Thursday, and the prospect of a default. Boehner has always been, thinking about business. How is this affecting businesses? Whatever. He's always into these broad fiscal ideas, more so than immigration, things like that. This has been his bread and butter, as he wants to reform the country and get him on a stable path. And I think not putting something to raise the debt ceiling on the floor is going to be the opposite of that ethos. So I think that's what would suggest Boehner would do that.
And he has every business organization today, from the Chamber of Commerce to the Business Roundtable to the American Banking Association to the National Association of Manufacturers, all telling him, don't let the government default.
Right. And my colleagues, Jake Sherman and John Bresnahan, have reporting quietly on the side, Boehner's considering a 6-week debt increase of his own. It would not be clean. It would probably do something to slight to Obamacare, but it's not intended to be completely objectionable to Democrats. So it could be, if these negotiations fall apart in the Senate, there could be a last-second backstop to avoid this. But it doesn't sound like that's what anyone would prefer at this point.
So the question we were kicking around in the last half hour, Burgess Everett with us from Politico.com, covers the Congress, is who we know that Ted Cruz is the architect of this strategy, right? And some people even call
the
him
defund Obamacare strategy.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaker Cruz.
The way to get Speaker Cruz, right? The way to shut down or delay or derail or whatever Obamacare is to shut down the government.
Right.
That strategy. Who's the leader of the other strategy among Republicans, which is, this is crazy?
So we were talking about this before. Pete King from New York has been perhaps the loudest person, but quietly in the Senate, there's been a lot of all these guys that voted a week and a half ago on this cloture vote that voted against Cruz. Many of them have been publicly or privately warning against this strategy. So,
sure, they have, like Susan Collins has,
Yeah,
and Johnny Isakson has,
Corker
and Bob Corker
Tom
has,
Coburn, too.
And Tom Coburn, too.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for, like, the equivalent of the Ted Cruz, the crusader, the champion of voice of reason among the Republican Party. It's not Mitch McConnell who's afraid of his own shadow these days because of his
got primary concerns.
Yeah.
There's this constant story of inner turmoil within the Republican Party, right? And anything that reinforces that narrative, I think, especially the leadership in both chambers, is just does not want to keep going. They don't want internal fighting to be the story of the Republican Party, and someone just yelling at Ted Cruz publicly only exacerbates that problem. So I think another interesting thing
I hear that, but the result of that is, without anybody willing to stand up and take him on, then the Ted Cruz of this world and the Sarah Palins and the Mike Lees and the House Republican Tea Party caucus rule the day.
I don't think at this point in the Senate, Ted Cruz is really influencing the debate. The fact that you really haven't heard him bashing McConnell directly. He did put out a statement over the weekend that warned against backroom deals which is essentially what this is. It's two guys going in a room and saying what can pass the Senate, but that's the way legislation has been done forever.
I was going to say, there's nothing wrong with a backroom deal if you get the right deal.
So I'm not sure at what point, what part Ted Cruz is playing in this right now. His rhetoric is not about defunding or really degrading Obamacare. It's been he's been calling for the Senate to pass these little House bills, which is almost like from last week, rhetoric from last week. So like, I'm not necessarily sure that people are really feeling any pressure from his ideology right now.
I was at the White House. Was it Friday? Thursday. No, it was Friday when the the Senate Republicans met with the president.
Right.
I have to tell you, I tweeted out, Peter, I don't know whether you saw a photo. We were all standing out in the rain, as close as we could get to the front door of the White House, which was like a football field away, as the Republican senators walked out. And we were trying to get any of them to come over and talk to us.
None of them would, right?
Not one of them.
But then they came back to the Capitol and they talked to all of us. So I think that
well,
close lip
because
strategy.
You were not in the rain.
And because they have to walk by us to get into their meeting rooms.
So what was their feeling about that?
They felt great after that meeting.
Really?
Especially this, they hate to be called moderates, maybe this centrist-minded group of Republicans in the Senate, like John McCain, Isaacson, Burr, people like that, that had been kind of working quietly on a debt ceiling deal that turned into that Collins plan that sort of fell apart, but set the stage for these negotiations. And they were happy when they met with the president. I mean, nobody was in a bad mood. They all said it was a good, constructive meeting. So, the president started kind of whining and dining these guys about 7 or 8 months ago, and it seems to have paid off a little bit in terms of, it could have very easily just been them coming back and being like, the president won't negotiate, we don't know what to do now. But it wasn't that at all. It was a total opposite. So I got the feeling after that meeting that it had been better than anyone had expected going in there.
So it is interesting that the president has been able to, we don't have an agreement yet, but at least he has a good working relationship, certainly with House Democrats, with Senate Democrats, and with Senate Republicans.
Getting better. I don't know if I'd say good yet, but he's sought really like.
But they can sit down and have a good civil conversation and disagree. But the problem is, again, House Republicans, particularly because of the Tea Party caucus.
Right. And I don't know the intimates of why that deal between the House and the White House fell apart late last week, but it at least set the stage for Senate Republicans and Democrats who are more used to cooperating on legislation, given the way the Senate works, needing 60 votes to do a lot of things. So, in some ways it might be better that way because these are two factions that are more used to working together.
Well, the action is in the Senate. The only hope for a resolution right now is in the Senate. So we're going to let you go, Burgess, to get down the street here, 6 blocks down the street. Get to the Senate and, whip them. Just whip them into shape here.
I've just been warning them against keeping me in D.C. on Thanksgiving. That's been my...
On behalf of all of us, we thank you, Burgess Everett, at Politico.com. And we'll be right back on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dog, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should.
Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Leslie Clark from McClatchy News and Jennifer Bendry from Huffington Post. Talking about the continuing shutdown. We are in week 3, and things get even more serious this week because 3 days from now is the deadline for raising the debt ceiling, without which the country will go in default. Lead story in the New York Times this morning. The world financial leaders in Washington for a meeting this week at the IMF have warned the United States, you are going to wreck the global economy unless you get your stuff together and reopen the government and pay your bills. Because other countries look to the United States, the most powerful and the wealthiest country on the planet, to lead the way and not be in default. I mean, we're like Greece right now. Right? Remember, not so long ago, everybody said, "Look at the country Greece. What a bunch of jerks!" Right?
We look pretty stupid right now.
Yeah, they can't even pay their own bills. Yeah. Greece. We look like Greece, right? We are like Greece right now.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. Roberta out in Portland, Oregon on Free Speech TV. Hey, Roberta, good morning.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, I'm watching your show, and I'm just commiserating with you.
Well, with all Americans right now. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. At least 47% of us, anyway.
Yeah, that's right. We're the 47%. But it's amazing how this Republican Party is just can't get it.
It's totally devolved. I mean, I can't remember a time in my 55 years where I've ever seen this kind of activity going on in Congress, ever. I mean,
nobody can.
We've had a couple of shutdowns and stuff. I was in the Navy when they shut down for 27 days and almost tanked everything back then.
Mm-hmm.
But they got out of that just in the nick of time, and I have a feeling they're trying to do that again. I think that the main culprit in all of this is probably Eric Cantor, because they changed the House rules on the night before the shutdown that prevented all the rest of the House members from being able to make a motion to reopen the government. So that now only Eric Cantor or his designated speaker can put forth that kind of a motion.
But I think the blame has to rest, Roberto, on John Boehner. I mean, he is the speaker. I mean, he could.
Well, yeah. He should stand up.
He could let the entire House vote on this clean resolution, and it would pass. But you're right in the sense that One of the reasons John Boehner won't do that is because he knows that Eric Cantor is standing right behind him, right, ready to stab him in the back and take over and take his job as Speaker. Good to hear from you, Roberta. By the way, last night in the Redskins game, they're playing Dallas, playing the Cowboys, and boy, what a kind of nuclear bomb that Bob Costa threw right in the middle in his halftime with his commentary on NBC, going after Dan Snyder for refusing to change the name of the Redskins. He pointed out a lot of other teams have changed their name.
And the Miami of Ohio Redskins, that's right, Redskins, are now the Red Hawks. Still, the NFL franchise that represents the nation's capital has maintained its name. But think for a moment about the term Redskins and how it truly differs from all the others. Ask yourself what the equivalent would be if directed toward African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, or members of any other ethnic group. When considered that way, Redskins can't possibly honor a heritage or a noble character trait, nor can it possibly be considered a neutral term. It's an insult, a slur, no matter how benign the present-day intent. It's fair to say that for a long time now, and certainly in 2013, no offense has been intended. But if you take a step back, isn't it clear to see how offense might legitimately be taken?
God.
So you've got the
nailed it.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. You've got Bob Costa, several sports writers, right? And the President of the United States.
This
now.
Bob Costas thing is huge. It's a big, big deal.
It is.
He's probably the best-known sportscaster in the country.
I was going to say in the world.
In the world, man.
He is, yeah, really. And that's a very powerful voice. I mean, how many more people have to speak out before one man, Dan Snyder, gets his head out of his ass and does the right thing and changes the name of Washington's football team?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Are you ready for hour number 3? Yeah, we roll right on here on your local progressive talk radio station. And, of course, on not on Free Speech TV, but you can switch over to watch the video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Coming up in the next hour, 2 of my friends from the White House Press Corps, Leslie Clark from McClatchy News and Jennifer Bendry from Huffington Post. And you join us as well on TawkrTV.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 3 minutes now before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Leslie Clark will be here for the first half hour from McClatchy News, and then Jennifer Vendry from Huffington Post. Peter.
Really cool story out of the state of Virginia. Tucker Martin is the spokesman for Bob McDonnell, the governor.
Yeah.
He went hunting this weekend, and his dog got loose, and he lost his dog. So he put it on Twitter. If anybody's seen my dog, his name is Blue. This is what he looks like. This is the area that I was hunting in. He got a tweet from a guy named Clark Mercer with a picture of the dog and a McAuliffe for governor sticker in front of him. Clark Mercer found the dog. He is also the political director for the Democratic Party of Virginia.
Oh, no. Wow.
And he returned the dog. They exchanged numbers. All is well. The hunting dog is safe.
Of course the Democrat returned the dog, because Democrats are good people. They're dog lovers. Yeah, great.
This is the Bill Press Show. broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, it's Columbus Day 2013. It's also week 3 of the government shutdown. And if that's not bad enough, we could go over the cliff on Thursday if they don't raise the debt ceiling. Oh, my. We'll try to figure it all out here in the hour we've got left here, the Bill Press Show, this Monday morning, October 14. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you today, whether you're listening on your local progressive talk radio station, and we thank you for being there on the radio with us this morning, or whether you're watching our radio show on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, if you want to look in and join us anyway. And send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Give us a call. What the hell? I'm glad to get your calls at our toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS. The entire team here in place this Monday morning, having rested up over the weekend with Peter Rockburn and Dan Henning.
Hey. Good morning.
Alicia Cruz there. She's ready to take your phone calls. And Cyprian Bolding has got the video cams up and operating for our video feed. And we welcome to the studio here this first half hour a good friend from the White House. See her every day at the White House briefings in the briefing rooms there. She's there for McClatchy Newspapers, Leslie Clark.
Hey, good morning.
Nice to see you.
Terrific
good morning.
To be here.
We sort of had the day off today, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Columbus Day.
No
yeah,
briefing.
Nothing going on.
No briefing today, and the government is furloughed, and so...
Yep.
There you go. Are you still reporting? Are you still go down?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll head over
just
there
in
later
case
today. Yeah, just in case. Fingers crossed that there's some sort of a resolution.
And these days, the president can pop in the briefing room.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what to expect anymore.
Right. I mean, when they want to make a statement, that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to have him just come out there and the cameras are there and everybody's ready to go.
So I want you to know that last week made a little news here on the show when Congressman Bruce Braley from Iowa was in studio, sitting right there in that seat. And it was the day that the story broke that while all the rest of the government was shut down, the House gym, the members' gym, not the staffers' gym, that was closed. The members' gym was still open. And I asked Congressman Braley about that, and he said he thought it was a good idea that the gym was open so that the Republicans and Democrats could go down and work out, and they could actually talk to each other while they were working out.
Get out their frustrations.
I pointed out that still the government was shut down, maybe, and what about all those people who worked there? And the congressman said, oh, no, the gym isn't really staffed. We have to, in fact, he said, we have to wash our own
towels.
Wash our own towels. Well, that went viral, as they say these days, all the way up to Jimmy Kimmel Friday night did a little skit about these poor congressmen who have to do their own towels. Here's that.
But there is one government building that's still open, and that's the congressional gym. The exclusive gym where congressmen go to work out has remained open during all of this, although they were quick to point out that the gym is not fully operational because towel service is no longer available due to the shutdown.
Poor guys.
So everyone is suffering.
So these are the members of Congress in the gym.
I worked out today without a towel.
I worked out today without a towel.
I went to work wet.
I tried to use newspapers to dry off.
This guy's got newspapers.
Wouldn't recommend it.
No towel for me.
No towel.
We go without towels.
Because sacrifices must be made.
Congress, wet because we care.
Congress,
perfect.
Wet because we care. Sacrifices must be made. If they only look how silly, if they only knew how silly they look. But the real secret, as Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who was in the next day, pointed out to us, the real secret, the reason why the House gym is open is because so many Tea Party members sleep in their offices. Spend the night. They don't have an apartment, and the only way they take a shower is that they shower in the House gym.
Right.
So that's ironic. The Tea Partiers who wanted to shut down the government have left the House gym open so they could take a shower. I'm telling you, hypocrisy in Washington, D.C. Well, what's new? So Leslie Clark is here for the first half hour, and then Jennifer Bendry will step in. She covers the White House and the Congress for Huffington Post. But first, Dan's got the big headlines this morning.
Press. Other headlines making news on this Monday in sports. The Boston Red Sox tied the American League Championship Series last night thanks to a grand slam home run by David Ortiz in the 8th inning at Fenway to tie the game after being down 5-0 through 6 innings. Then a single in the 9th set it up for a 6-5 win over the Detroit Tigers. Game 3 tomorrow afternoon in the Motor City. Today it's the NLCS back in action. The Cardinals of St. Louis are up 2-0. They head out to Los Angeles to visit the Dodgers for Game 3.
Go Dodgers.
And by the way, let this be a lesson if you're a Boston sports fan. Stay until the end of the game. Both football and baseball. Apparently, the Saints Patriots game yesterday, half the stadium left.
Right, people were streaming out.
Yeah, they were leaving.
So bad in Foxborough.
And an impossible comeback yesterday.
5 seconds to go.
Left.
Yeah,
and then, of course, the last-minute heroics from the Ed Sox.
And you said you're a Red Sox fan, but you didn't watch the end of the game?
Yeah, I didn't. I was asleep. I had to get up early and be on your show. So blame
it on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
The popular TV series House of Cards may be ending sooner than expected. The Netflix political drama's executive producer hinted at the Vancouver Film Festival last week the second season may be its last. But Politico reports that's not what the show's chief screenwriter has said in the past. He is hoping for many more seasons of the Kevin Spacey drama.
It seems ready, built to go several seasons. I mean, to think that it only has a shelf life of 2 seasons, I don't.
I watched another episode Friday night. It is so good.
Isn't it good?
It is so good.
And it's done so well for them. It'd be kind of
Yeah,
surprising
it really
if they
has.
wouldn't
I'd be stunned if they shut it
3 or
down.
4.
Yeah.
A technology firm is having some fun with the shutdown, but also trying to get Congress to act. So they are helping constituents to drunk dial members of Congress. Head to drunkdialcongress.org, and you will be randomly connected with any member's congressional office. You'll be given funny talking points to say, like, why don't you make yourself useful and at least mow the lawn if you're not working? The site also gives cocktail recipes, one drink called the Bad Representative. It's whiskey, brandy, vermouth, and lemon. The Hill reports that the site is being run by a company called Revolution Messaging. That is the company that designed President Obama's social media strategy in his 2008 presidential campaign.
What's it? Drunkdial.com?
Drunkdialcongress.org.
Drunkdialcongress.org.
So next time you get hammered,
look it up.
On that website. You can remember how to spell drunkdialcongress.org.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, Leslie, pardon me. Oh, man. We have a lot of fun at the White House every day trying to get answers out of Jay Carney, which is not always easy, right?
As opposed to just replies.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted out the other day that how much simpler life would be if Jay Carney would just answer a yes or no question with a yes or a no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard him answer.
Yeah, they go on with the talking points.
With the yes or no. But this story caught my attention. We haven't had a chance to, haven't had an opportunity to talk about it so far on the show. It came out last week. The Committee to Protect Journalists issued their annual report in which they blasted the Obama administration, saying that this has been the least cooperative and the most aggressive administration toward the media since Richard Nixon.
Yeah, it was a scathing report.
Yeah. Do you find it that way?
Well, I haven't covered the Nixon administration or any other administration.
All right.
So.
Yeah, right. But from what you've heard and what you've other journalists that you've talked to.
Definitely, absolutely. It's difficult to get information out of that White House. We wrote a story based on the report, and my editor noted that back in September when the whole debate over Syria was really heating up, at one point the White House had their daily press briefing and they canceled it or postponed it. It had never been scheduled, but they ended up canceling it, not holding it, and they just had a small briefing for a certain number of press outlets. And that's, very common for them to do.
Right. Preferred, if you will, preferred press outlets, right?
Yeah.
One thing the president does a lot of is rather than talking to us, right, the regular White House press corps,
right,
he'll call in 3 or 4 or 5
news anchors
from local television stations around the country. and talk to them, but not talk to us.
Right, which I always found. Used to be a regional reporter covering news for the Miami Herald here, and I would always be irritating because you would be there, you're right there, you're a block away, but they would use the TV stations from all around the country, but not the actual press that covers something every day.
Mm-hmm. So are they doing these regional TV stations because to avoid the national media, because they're not getting a fair shake from the national media? Is that why?
Yeah, I guess they look at it as it's a good way for them to get the message out to local outlets and to be there almost without filter. The questions are a little broader maybe than the national outlets are going to ask.
And not as aggressive, and it's a big deal, right? The president talks to, I don't know, whatever station in Des Moines, Iowa, or Kansas City. It's going to get a lot of play.
Right. It becomes the number one show on there. 6 o'clock up our interview with the president. A lot of the locals will do a lead up to it. They'll get time in the briefing room. Often they'll sit in the briefing room and Jay Carney will call on them. Mm-hmm. And so the interview will be on their 5:30, 6, and 11 o'clock news. Although the president, he gets some pretty tough questions sometimes from those anchors, but not always.
Now, last Tuesday when the president came to the briefing room, we were there. Mm-hmm. He took questions. And you were there as one of the major print reporters covering the White House. What did it say to you that the president took, I think, 11 or 12 questions and did not take one question from any one of the networks, TV networks, not ABC, not CNN, not CBS, not Fox, not NBC? What message? That was a deliberate message. What were they trying to say, do you think?
I'm not sure, but I think it's because he did have a series of TV interviews the next day on stations that are affiliated with the network, so I don't know if that's why it was. But I thought it was interesting because he was able to go along he got more questions in from more people because of the print was just tended to ask, a variety of questions.
Yeah, on more topics.
It mixed it up a little bit.
Was he trying to say to the networks, maybe you guys haven't given me a fair shake and I'm going to cut you out? Or
I have no idea. I don't know what they're thinking.
It was certainly
behind
noticeable.
it, but it was definitely noticeable.
I remember I thought it was interesting. At one point, the president said, when he could see that they were all kind of, they knew what was going on. They were raising their hand trying to get a question in, and he said, "Hey, don't blame me. Jay Carney gave me the list."
The
he
list.
said, "I've just followed the list." Yeah. All right, so let's cut right to the chase here with the shutdown and the pending default on our debts. The president has been hanging tough. How's it working for him, that strategy?
Yeah, well, they don't have a deal yet, but it seems to be working well in terms of Democratic unity. They haven't had many cracks in the Democratic side, seems to still be hanging together, and not, they're not sort of doing a lot of party reparations and trying to find out where people are. They all seem to be hanging pretty tough.
Unlike the Republicans at this time. There are some Democrats I know, and some of our callers this morning have already raised the fear that, as he has in the past, that the president will cave. So far, there's no sign of that, though, is there? I mean, he has said, I'll negotiate about anything, I'll talk about anything, but you got to reopen the government first.
Right.
I don't see his caving on that. Do you?
No, and it's interesting that the storyline yesterday sort of switched from what Republicans want to now Democrats saying we want to not have the sequester cuts as large as they would be starting in January. So that's sort of an interesting dynamic that's new, and that's the Democrats perhaps seeing that they have a little bit more advantage at this point and pressing Republicans more.
Interesting your take. We see the House has sort of now said, okay, we can't agree on anything, so we'll let the Senate try to work something out, and then we'll deal with that. Where's the White House in all of this? Is the White House involved in these ongoing negotiations in the Senate? And where's Joe Biden?
Yeah, that's a big question. Did you hear John McCain yesterday?
No.
Suggested he was in a witness protection or something. He was actually, it was kind of odd. He was at Camp David this weekend, which I'd not seen before. That he and the second lady, Jill Biden, went up to Camp David for the weekend. So But yeah, that's how it happened. Back in January is the deal got hammered out in the Senate, and at that point it was between Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden working for the administration.
Yeah.
This time there are reports that Harry Reid was not thrilled about the deal that Biden worked out. But I mean, Biden is doing the president's bidding, so.
21 minutes after the hour now. Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, how I just wonder how involved the White House is really in these. We don't know because so much of it is just undercover, backroom deal, so that, as they say. Your take on: are we going to work ourselves out of this, or are we going to go over the cliff? Who's responsible? All those good questions. 866-55-PRESS with Leslie Clark from McClatchy Newspapers.
This is the Bill Press Show. streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 26 minutes after the hour. Leslie Clark covers the White House for McClatchy newspapers all around the country, here in studio with us on this Monday morning. So, Leslie, we've got 800,000 federal employees out of work now, furloughed. They may or may not get paid, but they're certainly not going to get a paycheck, right?
Right.
And they're probably due for a paycheck. I don't know whether they get paid at the federal level every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's every 2 weeks.
Right.
It's every 2 weeks.
But they don't have to worry if their paycheck doesn't come through. Steve Pierce, congressman from New Mexico, said yesterday that here's a suggestion. He said, quote, "If you're a furloughed government employee, we encourage you to reach out to your financial institution as soon as you realize you may miss a paycheck. Don't wait until you're behind on a bill. Call now to your financial institution and explore your options." In other words, take out a loan.
I saw that.
That's the way to get through, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what the hell?
Yeah. Great.
As if it were
Thanks.
if only it were that easy, right?
I think his office actually got so much flack for it, they took it down and blamed it on a low-level staffer for posting it.
Good. If you wanted the worst example of the heartless member of Congress, right, or the heartless Tea Partier, yeah, that would be it. Yeah, what? You're not getting a paycheck? Just take out a loan. Isn't that what everybody does, right?
Right.
So what's the way out of this mess? And do we find a way out of this mess? We got about 30 seconds.
All right, 30 seconds, not a problem.
That's all you need.
We're at this point, it sounds like in some ways, it's a $70 billion question at this point, because the Republicans are saying, we'll go with this if you fund it at the sequester levels, and the Democrats want the sequester to not hit so hard beginning in January. So I don't know if they split the difference, but that's still a tough sell to get through the House.
Right. Whatever the Senate works out.
Right. It's still going to be really hard to get through the House.
Yeah.
Which is mad that the Senate is sort of stepping in to resolve it. So.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. And we're here every few months. It's
right.
Just does not seem to end.
A few months, if not every 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, you've got the White House covered today. Well, let's get down there and see if you can't help straighten it out. Thanks for coming in, Leslie, getting up early for us.
Thanks for having me.
This
Jennifer Bendry
is the Bill Press Show. Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, 33 minutes after the hour now. What do you say? Monday morning, October 14. It's the Bill Press Show. We are live, coast to coast, out there on your local progressive talk radio station and video streaming at TawkrTV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. And I know what you're wondering all across the country today. What the hell is going on in Washington, D.C.? Why can't they resolve this mess? And is there any way out? She is here with all the answers. Jennifer Pendry covers the Congress for Huffington Post, doing some great reporting on this shutdown and on the gridlock in Congress. Hey, Jen, nice to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You were widely quoted on our show last week because you were keeping the count of Republicans who would have been willing to vote for a clean CR in the House if John Boehner had only brought it to a vote, which he refused to do, right?
Yes, and he still refuses to do it. And there are, by my count, there's 24 or 25 House Republicans who still have not disputed the fact that they have publicly said that they would support a clean funding bill. All it does is reopen the government. That's it. It's not particularly controversial, but they want to... The leadership in the House right now wants to load it up with other issues, tie it to the debt ceiling, tie it to other spending cuts, and Obamacare. Remember Obamacare? That's how this all got started.
Right. So we know that yesterday you were off on some drunken orgy in the hills of Maryland, not working.
It's not quite what I told you, but...
There are no secrets around here. Not quite, no. But Saturday, you were around Saturday, right? So Saturday... members of the Democrats in the House put forth a discharge petition, which if they they all lined up to sign it, and daring those Republicans that you identified to sign the discharge petition, which would have forced a vote in the House, right? But they wouldn't sign it.
That's right. So again, there are like at least 24 or 25 House Republicans who are publicly saying that they will support a clean CR. But to my knowledge, only one of them has said publicly that he would sign the discharge petition, and that's Peter King from New York.
Peter King.
All the rest won't, and it's pretty clear why, because there's a difference between saying, yes, I'm a Republican, but I support a clean bill just to reopen the government, versus saying, yes, I'm a Republican, I support a clean bill to reopen the government, and I'm willing to buck my party leaders in order to force it to the floor.
Right.
So they don't want to take it that extra step and basically go against what their leadership wants. They could, and if they did, and it went on the floor, it would pass, and the government would reason immediately.
So
but they don't want to go up against their leadership.
Right. They only have one testicle, not two.
Those are your words, not mine. It's also very early in the morning right now.
But it was a chance for the Republicans to show, those Republicans who said they would vote their clean CR, to really step forward. They didn't. So, but that gets to the point, whatever is worked out in the Senate, if something is worked out, and, chances are they'll come up with something. It comes back to the House. At that point, John Boehner still faces a decision. I'm going to have to let the entire House vote on this or not, right? He cannot get it done with just his caucus. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There's a faction of his caucus right now that the only thing that they would support is something that guts Obamacare and does things that are never going to happen. So you have to take this faction of like 30 or 40 Tea Party type House Republicans and just put them to the side, because they're not going to vote for anything that's going to pass that's going to pass the Senate and be signed into law. So you kind of have to scoot them over to the side and figure out what you can pass in the House with all the Democrats and all the other House Republicans. And I have to say, I'm surprised by John Boehner at this point. I thought by now he would have done something to cobble together votes to pass something, but he still hasn't. And there's increasing pressure on him, to get a backbone, just be a leader, pass something that needs to pass, that will pass the Senate, that will be signed into law. But he hasn't. I'm surprised. I didn't expect it to get this far.
So what do you think the chances are then that by this Thursday evening at midnight, he'll be willing to call for the vote that he hasn't dared do, and we know why, that he hasn't dared do so far? And will he?
I mean, the way things get done in this town, it's typically at the very absolute last minute. I thought we would not shut down, and I was wrong. We did shut down. But with the debt ceiling, I have a hard time believing we're going to go over and actually default, because the negative repercussions of doing that are like exponentially greater than a government shutdown. So that gives us until 11:59 on the 16th. Is that Wednesday night? Is that Thursday night?
Wednesday's the 16th.
It's sometime this week. Okay,
right.
Wednesday night.
So I don't
They've
know
got to pass something before then.
Whether midnight the 16th or midnight the 17th.
It's technically midnight the 17th, which is technically Thursday at midnight.
Thursday at midnight.
But
Okay.
I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to go over. I think they'll cut a deal at the last minute. And that's, if passed as precedent, then that's how they'll do it. But then again, I was wrong about the government shutdown, and I don't know. They always do things. They always do it. They always get something at the end. So I have to believe that they're going to stick to that. But at this point, I don't see what it is. There's so much talk about, here's some ideas. Here's, there's a certain bipartisan group of senators who agree to this. There's a group in the House that wants this, but there's nothing sticking in this moment. There's nothing that I can see that everyone is slowly coalescing around. So they've got 2 days to do it.
I want to ask you the same question. Burgess Everett was, whom you know, I guess, from Politico, covers the Congress for Politico, was in the last hour, and asked him this question: is that we know who the leader is for the shutdown, Ted Cruz, right? I mean, the way to get Obamacare, shut down the government, and you're going to get rid of Obamacare, which is a strategy he sold to House Republicans. They believed it. A lot of the American people believed it. It just wasn't going to work. It's pretty obvious now. They're not even talking about Obamacare anymore, are they?
Yeah, that's kind of like the weird part of all of this. This all started because Ted Cruz spoke for like 30 hours or some insane amount of hours, and said we need to, get rid of Obamacare. We need to defund it, get rid of it, whatever. And the best way to do it is to use the government shutdown as leverage. And now here we are 2 weeks later. The government's shut down and no one's talking about Obamacare so much anymore. And that's because they know they can't do that. And so now they're changing their messaging almost every day to say what their demand is, because it is pretty clear they don't know what it is they want now. They don't know. They just can't agree to just reopen the government because they need to feel like they've gotten something out of it.
Right. The one congressman, I forget now who it was, probably your report, said, we're going to get something out of this. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Damn it.
Damn it.
And someone else, another House Republican pretty flatly said, this is about our pride at this point. The government shutdown is about the pride of about 30 House Republicans.
Yeah.
So they really don't know.
So my question is, this is Ted Cruz. Here's the strategy. The House Republicans bought it. But who is the champion of sanity in this case? Who is the leading Republican? Is there one standing up saying, Ted Cruz is wrong? This is the wrong strategy for our party. I mean, I've been trying to figure out. It's not Mitch McConnell.
It's Senator McCain. John McCain's been out there this whole time. He's
the only one.
There's a handful of them, but I would say that John McCain is leading the charge. He's been pretty critical of Ted Cruz for a while. He's been saying, this is going to be resolved in the Senate, not the House. This is going to be a Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell ultimate deal. We need to cut out the House for the moment, ignore Ted Cruz, and leave this to the Senate party leaders. And he said that several days ago, and it's starting to play out just how he said it.
I'm more critical than you. I mean, I think John McCain has been saying the right things, but I think all he's been doing is talking. I don't think he's been doing any real work or any real organizing or any real.
Yeah, I mean, Senator Susan Collins from Maine, she's the moderate from Republican. She's the one who's sort of become the face of at least one bipartisan maybe deal in the Senate. And John McCain is part of that group. Mm-hmm. But her proposal at this point is not moving forward because it has, among other things, it repeals a tax that's part of Obamacare in it, which any Obamacare provisions are off the table. But there's other things in her proposal that they do have some bipartisan support, even though it doesn't look like her plan is not moving forward right now.
Clearly, the Republican leader is not even though he's the one who's talking to Harry Reid. I mean, Mitch McConnell, whatever he's doing behind the scenes, he is not out in public taking on Ted Cruz, I think because of his own problems in Kentucky. Right?
Oh, absolutely. He's not going up against Ted Cruz. He's already gotten crap from outside groups. There's a Senate Conservative Fund type group that might even be their name, that specifically went after Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn, two of the most conservative people in the Senate. This group went after them because they split with Ted Cruz on a procedural vote relating to defunding Obamacare. I mean, there's some real tensions within the Republican Party right now, and people like Mitch McConnell, who's up for re-election, he's got a Tea Party candidate running against him back home, and he's got a viable Democratic candidate running against him back home. He's not about to align himself with just anyone at this point. He wants to be quiet and let things play out.
So there you go. We've got efforts to reach a deal in the Senate, which are really just in the beginning stages. And the Senate is, for the most part, out of session today. They come back in at 2 o'clock. And yet, they've got whatever they work out in the Senate, they still have to try to get it through the House. I don't know. I'm not very positive that we're going to miss this deadline. Jennifer Bendry's here from Huffington Post. Join the conversation, your thoughts, your comments, and particularly what impact is this having on you and your family, your community. 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back on this
Go mobile
Monday
with Bill Press. Download podcasts at BillPressShow.com and listen anytime, anywhere. This is The Bill Press Show.
at the top of the hour. Jennifer Bendry is here in studio from Huffington Post, covers the Congress for Huffington Post. And your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS. We were talking about Ted Cruz just before the break. And Peter, I know you got a story on that, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that the Values Voter Summit was being held in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Ted Cruz, of course, was their big rock star there. And then they took a poll on who they want to run for president in 2016. Ted Cruz comes out on top with 42% of the vote. Rand Paul got trumped. He got 5%. Marco Rubio got 5%. Rick Santorum came in third. Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, was in second place with only 13. But Ted Cruz, 42% of the vote. Man, I would love to see Ted Cruz as a Republican candidate in 2016.
President Cruz.
All right, Peter?
Yeah, so just catching up on this. Jennifer Rubin from the Washington Post, very conservative blogger that they have. She writes The Right Turn for the Washington Post. Has a list she calls 20 signs you've drunk the Kool-Aid, and it's all revolving around the shutdown and Ted Cruz. One of the signs, you've drank the Kool-Aid. If you think that if only the shutdown went on longer, that the GOP would win this fight.
There are people who have said that.
Yeah.
And who believe it.
If you think that if the GOP doesn't win this shutdown fight, it will be because of the mainstream media, you've drunk the Kool-Aid. If you think Americans want to shut down the government to get rid of Obamacare, basically you're crazy. I mean, she has a whole list of them. I'm going to send out a link for if anybody wants to check that out on Twitter at BP Show. We'll send that out.
So this is probably, we were talking about John McCain just before the break. This is probably as strong as any senator has been willing to be publicly in being critical of Ted Cruz. But notice how John McCain hedges his bets here.
What about Ted Cruz and the impact that
With
he's
Bob
had?
Schieffer.
I that's a positive for Republicans?
Oh, obviously it's very divisive in our party, but Ted Cruz is entitled to his views, and he's very articulate, he's very intelligent, and what we need to do is to have this debate within the Republican Party, and it's going to be a serious debate. And look, I respect Senator Cruz. He didn't make any bones about what he was going to do when he came to Washington. The question is should we follow that leadership, or should we go in other directions and coalesce the majority of the American people? Look, I guess we can get lower in the polls. We're down to blood relatives and paid staffers now. I mean, it just, but we've got to turn this around.
Yeah. So, he obviously is expressing his differences, but also going out of his way to say, yeah, but he's very smart. And
he's also referred to him as a wacko bird.
I know,
so
right?
let's not forget that.
No, I was waiting for the for the wacko bird. But it does seem, I mentioned earlier this morning, former Governor John Sununu from New Hampshire has said, it's time for some grown-ups to take over in Washington. Former Governor Haley Barbour, Mississippi, has said this whole strategy never had a chance, right? So they got some real problems inside the Republican Party over this.
Absolutely. And like we were saying during the break, I mean, it's fascinating to see the Republican Party fight with itself right now. I mean, they're really duking it out over some pretty core principles and core beliefs on how they need to run their party. And this is playing out in full display for everybody to see. I mean, you can almost just name the names on one side of this is one faction, and here's the names of everybody in the other faction, and how are they going to work this out? Beyond the government shutdown and beyond the debt ceiling fight, how are they going to sort this out? I mean, they've got to figure out who they are as a party.
Who is the voice of reason in the House among the House Republicans?
Well, it depends. I mean, Peter King has been He's been the most vocal in terms of saying, look, we just need to reopen the government and be done with this. This is ridiculous. We're not going to defund Obamacare. Mm-hmm. Let's just work with Democrats and get something done. So he's probably been the most visible in terms of wanting to work with both parties and just do something that everybody can agree to. But, it's kind of funny because Paul Ryan has long been considered one of the more reasonable voices among House Republicans. And over the weekend, there was a report that came out that said that behind the scenes, he's actually been trying to blow up the whole deal. He's been trying to tie things to the debt ceiling increase and the government shutdown issue that have nothing to do with it. He's been trying to tie the conscience clause to all this, which is the provision that allows people to not provide birth control if they have religious objections. You know, like I believe this applies to doctors, to pharmacists. Like it allows people to not provide it where they're otherwise supposed to provide it by law. This is something Paul Ryan's pushing for. He's the reasonable guy. So I don't know what's going on over there.
No, but you've been doing an excellent job following these House Republicans and just letting them stand up and quoting them, right?
The stories write themselves.
No, it takes hard work on your part. We value that and value your time coming in this morning. Jim Bedry, you still got some work to do, though. So we'll let you get back.
Doing my best.
Back on the job here, and thanks for coming in today. I'll wrap it up with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, a parting shot wrapping up what we've been talking about this morning. You know, there's nothing sadder to me than those pictures we see every once in a while. The school of whales mysteriously stranding themselves and dying on a beach somewhere. They remind me of Republicans in Congress today mysteriously stranding themselves while committing mass suicide on the Tea Party beach. The only difference is the whales can't help themselves. Republicans can. But there they are, committing mass suicide. The latest Wall Street Journal poll, 53% of Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown. Only 24% have a positive opinion of the Republican Party, though those are the lowest numbers ever. And here's what's really scary. No establishment Republican dares to stand up and say, this is crazy, the Tea Party is wrong. As an American, I don't want to see the Republican Party destroy themselves. I want them to come to their senses and save the country. Hey, have a great day, folks. Come back here and see us again tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.